Hey, Jen Silvernagle, as we're carrying on a conversation that is probably best for a phone call.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Hey
Yeah,
Gary,
yeah,
how's it
yeah.
going?
Look at this. So new setup and we're getting everything dialed in. Let me let you in
Mhm.
on a little secret. Jen might be in the new KWRC studio, but we don't know. But it looks good and it sounds amazing.
Yeah. You know what? It's nice to not be just like in my kitchen on my laptop anymore. I actually feel somewhat like a professional. I got a mic like you do now. All fancy, Gary.
Yeah, all fancy and it sounds so good. We should,
That's
I don't know
awesome.
if I can do this. I'm totally going off scripts. So
Mhm.
bear with me. I'm going to see if I can do a wide shot of just,
Hey. Yeah, so I mean, there's a ring light in here. I think I've got 4 lights set up around me, a microphone, a desk, a webcam, couple of remotes. I don't know what they do, but they do something with the lights behind me, and then the boards that change colors in the background as well. So it's really cool.
that's pretty wild. We'll do lots of behind the scenes video on that over the next little while. But that's pretty cool that we've got that. That's
Yeah.
amazing, good stuff. So lots that we're gonna hit on this show today, and I threw Jen kind of a curveball right at the end. I said, Jen, guess what we're gonna talk about? And we got an email about 20 minutes ago, half an hour ago here in Ontario with some recommended changes to our REBA 2002. That's our Real Estate Act on how we interact with each other and with our clients. So there's going to be some changes coming to that over the next 6 to 12 months. So I thought we would talk about that and throw Jen some curveballs right at the very end. But that's what we do. We just roll and we adapt with it. So it's
Uh,
all good.
Go for it.
It's all
Yeah.
good. All right, let's roll the intro.
Let's do it.
Beautiful. Look at that. It looks so good. I'm just going to be in awe of the whole show because it's something that we've been working on for a long time. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, every few minutes, Gary's just gonna cut in and be like, "You sound so good," because he's been singing for the last half hour.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Very good. So we got a lot going on this summer. I mean, it's June now, Jen, and just flying
Mhm.
by. And,
Crazy.
we're going to talk about a little bit about the market and things like that. But, usually the summer months, July and end of June, July, August, it just slows down a wee bit. But what are you
Mhm.
and your coaching clients seeing there, Jen? Anything at the moment from that perspective?
Yeah, it's kind of depending on who I'm talking to and where they're located. That's really shifting from person to person. It seems like East Gwillimbury, Holland Landing, those type of pockets, Keswick still seem to be doing really well. They still seem to have a pretty solid market. Barrie as well in the lower price points. However, in a lot of the other pockets, in some neighborhoods, we're starting to see it cool off a little bit. And I think it's more price point related than location, to be honest, because I know some of our capper agents and that have been talking about how offers are picking up on some of their properties. So it's a mixed bag, I think, right now. And it does feel the market, I guess if we're gonna go off of that, it does feel like the market has shifted slightly, just with the stress test rolling out and the buyer demand kind of depleting a little bit. We have a bit of an uptick in inventory. So there are indicators that it's going to be a slightly calmer, but I mean, it's all relative because, slightly calmer than January is still a crazy market. It's just better than January was, right? So it's hard to say, but yeah, we're starting to hear rumblings for sure on the calls this week and last week that less showings happening on properties, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how, when we move into the next Ontario phases, the lockdown phases, as it loosens, right? And what that
Yeah.
does to our market as well. And maybe
Yeah.
people are just excited to get out of the house and get to the Home
Yeah.
Depot so they can paint the walls and trim out the doors that they've been waiting to do. Like it'll be interesting to see, right?
Yeah, I actually had that conversation this morning with one of the girls in coaching, and we were talking about that with the phase one, like moving into the next phase on Friday now. So a little earlier as well than they had originally announced. I mean, a weekend earlier, but still. Um, I think that the focus is going to shift a little bit more to being outside, being social, as much as we can, be going and doing things, right? Because we've been kind of locked up a little bit for the last 3-4 months. Really, it feels like the last year, honestly. Um, so I think that that could, my theory at least is that that's going to slow the market down over the summer months. I think people are going to enjoy the summer, and then we might expect to see a bit of a pickup again once we get into September, October, especially if those kids go back to school.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'll be really
Mhm.
interesting. Yeah. And speaking of summer, we over the last couple of months we've been having a lot of fun with doing different wellness initiatives. And this is really cool that Mary Furnell and Stephanie Malvina have put together. So this is the summer wellness program, and you can take part. In fact, everyone can take part. You can walk from every office to office to office, starting in Aurora to Keswick, all the way up to Tobermory. And as you can see here, Jen, is 307 kilometers throughout the summer. So, I did some math. I
Yeah.
did some math. And as you can see there, I think it's over, I wrote it down, 84 days is only 3.7 kilometers a day. And that'll
Wow.
get you, imagine that, you could walk all the way from here to Keswick to Tobermory.
Yeah. You could go visit Terry and Haley and Adam and all the guys up there at the office. Alexa. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
That's
So,
not bad.
yeah,
3.7 kilometers a day is pretty manageable.
it's nothing. I like we do that walking around the house in the office type thing, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
sign up. This is a fun program. There's going to be some prizes that Mary and Stephanie will be launching as well. And you can see the website there, the URL, mykwrc.ca/SW. Summer Wellness is what it stands for. So go sign up, log in, and you can track your progress and I was going to say make fun of other people, but we don't do that. So I got you this week. I did
Yeah.
80 kilometers, but it's all in good fun. But in all honesty, it's to get up and moving throughout the summer. And this is such a
Yeah.
cool way to do it. So walk, run. Vincent, we're on you, Vincent Bongard. We know you could probably run this in a day. So
I was gonna say this will take him like a week at the distances he runs.
yeah, seriously, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Very, very good. So sign up for that and log your progress there. And Mary will be doing updates on that throughout the summer as well.
I
Okay,
love that.
Jen,
That's so good.
excuse me.
Yeah.
Let's look at this Tressa update. And I know this might be a little hard, small on the screen, but I'll kind of highlight some of the things here.
Yeah.
And it's really, really interesting, in fact. So there's kind of two phases to this, if you allow me to just kind of explain it for a moment. And the first phase, we just got feedback from the ministry, and that is in your email inbox today, and it's pretty straightforward. Basically what they're looking for is some tools in order to help clients, buyers, and sellers get more information and to hold us accountable. And that's exactly like that. That's an easy. Yes, our agents throughout Ontario need to be accountable for their actions, and 100%, right? I think everybody can agree on that.
Yeah.
But as I scroll down here, Jen, and it's the phase two, and what code of ethics are being changed, the phase two regulation and future consultation. So this part all right in here, we're going to highlight a couple of things, and I'd love to get your feedback on some of the items. So the first one here, Jen, is the transfer of procedural technical requirements from code of ethics to other regulations. So basically it's just creating some bylaws and some work around how RICO can interact with the client or with agents. But here's where it gets really, really interesting, because we've just, not to say we're coming out of, but we've just experienced over the last 6 to 9 months, multiple offers on a very aggressive scale, wouldn't you say, Jen? And
One of the most aggressive I'd say I've seen in 15, 16 years in the industry. Like, it was, January, February specifically were just next level. So yeah, I'm not surprised that this is happening, to be honest.
Yeah. So these couple of points that we're talking about right now, they don't say when they're going to have feedback for us to kind of regurgitate and provide feedback on, other
Mhm.
than late summer. And they're looking to have a lot of these. They're looking to launch TRESA, the Real Estate Act 2020, in January 2022. So that's not far away when it comes to
Nope.
big things, big issues like this. So multiple competing offers. What does it say? Give buyers and sellers more choice and information by permitting, this is where it gets interesting, by permitting real estate brokerages to disclose the substance of competing offers at the option of the seller, which would allow
Hmm.
obviously potential buyers to have choice in whether to participate in this process or not. Now, you can probably read that and I can read that, and it can mean a different thing to everybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
However, I wonder, just kind of thinking outside the box, what does that exactly mean? And how much information are we going to be able to portray to other buyers or other agents, right? That's an
Yeah.
interesting thing, because right now we cannot disclose one iota, even if it's an
Nothing.
exclamation point, a comma, or a word or anything within an offer to a third party, and a party
Mhm.
that's not a part of that offer. Like we just even down to, Jen, the irrevocability time. Like that's
Right.
just part of an offer that we cannot disclose to somebody else. So what do you
Right.
what do you think about this?
Well, I'm just digesting it, but I think it's the language is very interesting. I mean, disclose the substance of competing offers at the option of the seller, which seems pretty straightforward. If the seller wants us to disclose, we can disclose. The part that I guess I question a little bit is potential buyers would have the chance of whether to participate in this process. But I mean, when we're talking about multiple offers in a market with high demand and low inventory, buyers aren't necessarily going to have a choice if that's what the seller dictates and they want to buy that home, right? So how are they going to balance that out to protect the rights of the buyers and then also give the sellers that option? What does that look like? Are you going to have then some buyers who you're disclosing to and then some buyers who you're not disclosing to? Or is it the buyer who gets to choose if their offer is disclosed even though the seller dictates, right? So I think there needs to be a bit more clarity around it, but
Yeah, I think tremendous amount of clarity. And if I am to look at that, Jen, potential buyers would have the choice of whether to participate in this process. Um, it might be that we've received 3 offers, and here's what those offers consist of. I'm not sure. And then maybe
mhm,
that fourth person has that moment to step back. I don't know. There's a lot of questions around that. And of course,
yeah,
we're just kind of coming up with different things. And I know that there would be a pretty strict guideline of what we would have, let me rephrase that, what we could provide as for information. And my
yeah,
immediate thought went to, and I like Michelle's comment here. Yeah, it's a Pandora's box for sure. Let's say you, Michelle, and myself submit an offer on
mhm,
on one of our properties that's out there, and you guys come in at relatively the same number. Let's just use a number of 800,000 on a $800,000 home. Then I come in
mhm.
at 900,000. My question is, won't I feel a little bit silly having to pay 900,000 when the next best offer was closer to 800?
Yeah, I mean, you probably will, and maybe will eradicate that in that maybe I guess how would it? This is such an interesting topic because if that's your first offer and you started at 900, I mean, the offer has to be submitted first. So then are you then choosing to back out at that point, seeing that you've overoffered by 100,000 as a buyer? Is that an option in regard to the buyer chooses whether or not to participate? Or obviously you should be tied to your irrevocable. I mean, we talked about that a few weeks ago. However, what are those parameters? And then yeah, I mean, I guess it's gonna force agents to be not I don't know how to phrase this properly, but not advising their clients just to throw money at a property, and actually homes selling at closer to a market value price point as opposed to these big jumps we've been seeing, which, is maybe not the worst thing in the world in regard to maintaining the market values and making it more accessible for more buyers. Um, and
Yeah.
transparency is always a good thing, right?
I think so. And again, you and I don't know not the ramifications, the guidelines of what this is going to be, but we can
No.
certainly, you know that word, I can't even say it.
Hypothesize.
Him.
I got
um,
you.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
And maybe this just is another opportunity for us to look at even like an open bid method, which I know there
Hmm.
are some local agents in Ontario that actually use that.
Yeah.
And maybe this just allows that to evolve a little bit. And we know some countries like Australia, which is a very similar country in size and economic growth to Canada. Maybe that's something that evolves here a little bit too. So, yeah, I wouldn't be close to it. I'm certainly open to hearing their ideas, but I just thought that was
Yeah.
interesting, right? Um,
Yeah, and it could be a scenario too where where it has to be disclosed up front, just like our offer dates, right? If they are going to do an open bidding or a disclosure of the substance of offers, that perhaps the buyers need to know that in advance so that they can choose whether they want to partake in that type of environment. But then it gets a little confusing too, because is it going to be mandatory or is it going to be an option?
yeah,
Because I
it's a
don't know
good
how much of
question.
a change it will enforce if it's not mandatory, right?
It's a really great question, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And I think at the end of the day, like people don't really care about the closing dates or what else, all the other items
The
that can
other details,
influence.
yeah.
Like really,
Yeah.
it boils down to how big is your deposit and what is the purchase price, right?
Yeah,
At
pretty
the end of the
much.
day, that's what it rolls into. So it'll be an interesting
Yeah.
conversation as this evolves. Um, yeah. Again,
Yeah.
this is not to say that it's happening, but this is what's coming in the next phase when we get to have some feedback on it in late summer. So, and this next one should not be of any surprise as well. Information disclosure obligations. Yeah, well, that's something that we already do. We just
Yeah.
have to do it at a higher level. In fact, the other one though is the disciplinary, I'm going to skip here, procedures and amended composition and other procedures to the excuse me, the discipline committee under REBA. So what that says to me is there's going to be some stiffer fines coming
Yeah.
if I'm to read into that. And, the whole thing here is all about the code of ethics and really taking a harder and stronger stand around our code of ethics and the service and the support that we provide to our clients and holding us accountable to it. So that's why this
Yeah.
is being rewritten. And of course, it's 30 years old.
Right?
No, not quite. What am I talking about?
Not quite.
2002.
Not quite.
What am I?
20?
It's 20
20
years
years old?
old. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just as our real estate market has evolved, this too needs to evolve as well, right, Jen?
You know what? It really does. And when you're out in the market and, from the coaching, we come across a lot of different scenarios on a daily basis that agents experience. And there's a lot of really wonderful, fantastic agents doing their job at a very high level. And there's quite a few agents that, really just don't aren't following the ethics guidelines as well as you would like them to, or just don't know them well enough. And there has to be, I think, more pressure enforced on making sure that agents who are licensed are accountable to those rules and those ethics, so that it is fair across the board, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So again,
Hmm.
that email came out, should be in your email inbox from about noon today. And I believe it's simply titled Draft Code of Ethics. So have a read through it. It'll take
Yeah.
you actually to, I don't have it up here, but it'll take you to a Word document on the exact changes of phase one. So you can read through that. If you really want to, have a nice nap or put yourself to sleep, read through it. It's that type of reading. But then they also linked to this article here, which I got a lot more out of. It was more of a summary than that other
Yeah.
document. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good.
absolutely. And then obviously as more news rolls out, we'll keep everyone up to date on what's being said and what you need to know, the Coles notes to keep yourself safe and protected. And obviously at our team meetings with Broker Bits, we'll be covering a lot of this, I'm sure, over the next 6 months and so on as different phases roll out and different changes get added in. But it's funny to say it's kind of nice to see them to see something shifting to kind of protect the buyers and the sellers and us more, right? I think we need that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. All right, let's roll into our first topic, which is about working in the business or working on the business.
Yes, that'll
Okay, there is a difference, right, Jen? Working on the business or
100%.
in the business. So give us your Cole's notes of what that difference is, because that can be confusing to a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. So working in the business is, when we're doing deals, right? When we're running with our clients, we're shopping houses, we're at listing appointments, the spring market, the fall market, traditionally, we need to be in our business all the time because our focus is going to be lead generation, client management, servicing, and closing transactions, right? That's our main activities. On the business is the time that you spend working on your business. So your business plan, your budget and P&L, profit and loss statements, your systems, the back end of your administration, all of that sort of stuff, even your skills, like your education and practicing and you're getting better with your tools or, learning your database at a higher level, whatever that needs to look like for you, but focusing on how to grow your business versus writing transactions and being in your business making money. And there's different times of year when one activity makes more sense than another, right? And it's kind of part of the reason to have this conversation now as we roll into those summer months, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And people often mistake even working on the business for working in the business, right? Sometimes,
Yeah.
when we know that we should be out there doing lead gen, but like, well, no, I need to focus on this first,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. All,
and
all the time, actually. Yeah.
and if Wayne Clements was here, Jen, he'd tell us what our four jobs are, right? As a
Yep.
realtor, and what's our number one job?
To lead generate.
Lead generate, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if we don't have enough leads, then we need to work on lead generating, right?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Whether it's on the business or in the business, lead generation needs to be discussed in both categories. On the business is your systems. How do you do it? When do you do it? What do you say when you're doing it, right? And what's your follow-up look like as you get those leads into your database? In the business is converting and going on the appointments and getting those buyers and sellers signed up. So lead generation falls into both categories because it's the essence of real estate, right? If you don't have leads, you don't have a business. One of the things I always say to people is, you can have the best listing presentation in the world or the best buyer consult in the world. And this is where people get on the business versus in the business mixed up. I mean, if you have nobody to show it to, who cares? Right? You're better off to go on an appointment and make your way through it and figure out your listing appointment later, like your consult later, than work on having an amazing consult and not have an appointment to go on. It just doesn't make sense when we look at production, right?
That's so true. That's so true. And give us some examples of really what is working on the business. We know working in the business is being knee to
Yeah.
knee or on the phone with clients type thing, talking to
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
Give us some examples though of what working on the business looks like.
Yeah. I mean, working on the business is setting your business goals for the year, right? Usually in November, December, we do business planning. We track down, we look at our numbers from the previous year and we break down what did we earn last year? What was our goal? Were we on track? And, tracking our numbers is part of that. And then understanding what do I want to make next year and doing the math, working that backwards to know what that means for your monthly activities, right? So setting your goals, having your business plan in place, that's working on your business. Um, Getting your database built, getting your systems, your follow-up systems, your smart plans for command users, or, your automatic email drip campaigns, your 8x8s, your 12x12s, building those, putting those in place, having a website that generates you leads if that's something you want to do, right? Creating a social media schedule, not the content necessarily, but knowing when you're going to post, having those strategies in place, or finding the people that are going to help you do those things and getting them into your team. That's all working on your business, right? Hiring an administrator. That's working on your business. Things like that are going to grow your business. They're going to take you from where you are to where you want to go, right? That would be the biggest difference, or the biggest, activities that I can think of for on business work.
Yeah, absolutely. And one might even suggest that this is working on your business,
Hmm.
educating yourself and doing different workshops,
Yeah, I think
reading
education.
books.
Yes, education is a huge part of working on your business, because you're working on your mindset, you're working on your skills, right? You're again, it's growth. Anything growth focused, I think, is on business, and anything production focused is in business.
Yeah, there you go. That's a great way to sum it all up. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure, for sure.
yeah,
And it's important to have both, right? But we have to have that balance, obviously,
yeah,
and understanding that we're creating or honing our skills while we're working on the business, and that allows us to have that in the business conversations at such a high level too, right? And
yeah.
I often said, when I was hosting my investment workshops, and I'd spend a lot of time doing research and doing market analysis and things like that for really about a 20 to 30-minute presentation that I would host before our other speakers would present. But do you know that those, call it 4 to 6 hours of research, provided me with so much knowledge to have, right? To have with all of my clients, not just at that one presentation, but all of my clients for like the rest of the month. So
Yeah.
don't understand. And that's all about becoming that local expert in the market. And that's what it allowed me to become, and spend some time
Yeah.
understanding what's going on from that perspective too. It's one of
Yeah.
those snowball effects. You'd be surprised, what you remember,
Yes.
and how validating it is for you and your clients to have those types of conversations.
Yeah, it's huge, right? To be able to have them and to give them those references and speak that highly of the current market or the models and the systems in general. That's where buyers see value in what we bring, right? It's being able to explain to them why something's a certain way, or walk them through a process, or solve their problems for them, right? That's really why they hire us. So when we do stuff like that, and I say that all the time about coaching and teaching, even though I don't really actively sell as much anymore, my real estate skills are way higher now than when I was an agent. And, I was never a bad agent by any means. But if I went back into selling now, I'd be a thousand times better, just because I live it every day with the coaching clients, right? And we talk about business and strategy and scripts and all those different things. And it's forced me to obviously keep ahead of the curve and keep educating myself, and learn how to be a better coach, a better communicator, better at relationships. All those different things are skills that we need in our business to be highly successful, right? So putting yourself in a position like that, it makes you grow so much faster. And I know, Wayne Clements and Michael Tuff and those guys always say that too. It was one of the reasons they were big Ignite trainers, is because it forced them to learn the material,
Yeah.
right? And it's very, very true. So if you're struggling with something, offer to teach it, or offer to help somebody else with that topic. And the work you do before you have that conversation is going to expand your knowledge 10 times over.
Yeah, that is absolutely bang on, Jen.
Mhm.
We encourage people to train and to elevate their
Yeah.
experience that way, and reach out to Jen, myself, Vincent Bongar, Drew McMartin. They're our two ALC members that oversee our education, and that's an amazing segue. I couldn't have planned this better, Jen, into what's happening tomorrow. So check this out. So Real Estate Hacks with Vincent Drew, with the lawyer Dorotas. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. With Dorota. We all know Dorota,
Yeah.
local real estate lawyer in Aurora that works with a lot of our agents. And Vincent is going to be talking to her about what happens on closing day.
Awesome.
And
I love that.
and yeah, because we kind of, as agents, either we don't know or we take it for granted
Right.
that, it's for us, it's just another day. But I got to tell you, for our clients, as I'm sure we've all experienced, it might be one of the most stressful days ever, right, Jen?
Oh, 100%. It can be crazy, right? And it can be stressful, and for agents too, but for the clients, absolutely. And it's I love that Dorota is coming on to talk about it and give us insight to be able to have better conversations and set our expectations with our clients in advance, right? So they know what to expect, because they're just waiting all day to hear. So that's stressful, having that scenario where you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. It doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, that is an amazing opportunity tomorrow. The email should be going out with the Zoom link on it for our agents. And if you are not one of our agents, but you would still like to participate, send a message to Jenna or myself. We'd be happy to get you that link. And everything from, what a lawyer does on closing day, to the bank's expectations, to our client's expectations, what happens when things kind of go sideways a little bit, when it doesn't close on time, all of those things Dorota's going to talk about. And I've had Dorota speak at my investment workshops in the past and different other speaking engagements. She's fantastic. And more importantly than that, very, very knowledgeable when it comes to real estate law. So that's a great option to tune in tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good topic.
Yeah, that's a good one. One that I wish we had thought of first.
Yeah,
But well
they're
done,
stealing
Vince.
our ideas, Gary.
Yeah, that's right. Or
Yeah,
we just take theirs.
we'll just
Awesome
take
stuff.
it. We'll do it in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Okay, let's go on to our next topic. It's all about relisting and the pricing around that. So I'm gonna let you kind of lead the way on this. This was a topic you sent me, and I thought it was pretty important to obviously talk about. Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this one's coming up a little bit more now than it was in the previous months. And it's that challenge of when we hold offers and we don't get any offers, or we don't get the price we want. So the home doesn't sell, but we're listed at that offer date price. Or we've been on the market and we're just not getting offers for one reason or another, and we need to reduce our price. So, the question that's been coming up, and I'm going to throw it to you to answer, is how do you approach that? Do you cancel the listing and relaunch as a brand new listing? And, how much would you shift in the price point? Or do you do a price change and a status change so it shows up on the updates in Treb? And why? Why would you choose one strategy or the other?
So yeah, that's an easy question, Jen.
Yeah. Threw you a
Yeah.
softball. It's all right.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I got to give you an easy one.
Yeah, really. Right there, I would follow what we've been practicing or talking about for years at KWRC, and that would be to cancel that listing, relist it with the appropriate information going forward. So if you had an offer date for June 8th, today, for instance, and tonight goes by, tomorrow goes by, and there were no offers, cancel and relist it with the appropriate information. Now, as per the strategy on what the the list price is, that might be unique to each situation, because maybe you listed it at fair market value, or maybe you did list it well below what you feel your clients felt was market value. The moment I would have a plan in place, Jen, of, let's say we listed today, I'll use 800,000 again because we used that scenario earlier.
Yeah.
And if that is truly fair market value, based on what? Based on the comps, because that's what we need to go by, then list it at fair market value based on comps. Now, if you chose to list it well below that and you still didn't get offers, you make sure you're getting the feedback from the clients or the agents that went through it, because maybe you did miss it, or maybe the market wasn't ready for that home at that price. There's a lot of scenarios where that could play out, where 800 is still the fair market value, but perhaps that group of buyers didn't come through that week. Could be a lot of things. And we're also seeing this too, Jen, right? And we keep coming back to it, but we're seeing it is buyer fatigue. They'll see an
Yeah.
offer date. Nah, I'll pass. I want to see something that doesn't have an offer date.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I sent a listing to a client today, just as a funny example, and there was no offer date on the listing, and it was priced in their price point. And I sent the email, said, "Hey, take a look at this one. Let me know what you think if you want to go see." And they replied back, and they're like, "No, we don't want to spend 1.1." It was listed at like 950. I started laughing to myself because they didn't even read it. They didn't read the listing. They didn't like, and note to self, make sure I put in the email going forward, there's no offer date. But I just assumed they'd read the listing, right? And they definitely didn't. So I did have to reply to them and say, actually, they're not holding offers. This is market value price, and just readjust their expectation. But I had to actively readjust their expectation. It was an auto response, right? The minute they saw that price. So there is a lot of that going on. And yeah, I 100% agree with you. Relist always. We want to launch it as a new listing when we're putting out a new price, or when we're adjusting back to the market value price. One thing I will say, just to note on that, is when you are doing your CMA and you are looking at comparables in the area, sold comps are the important numbers, right? Like the listing price of other listings in the area means nothing to us. Absolutely nothing right now. Some are really low, some are really high. They're all over the map, right? We want to know what the competition is. We want to educate our clients on what else is on the market, 100%. But when we're looking at what the buyers are willing to pay, it's sold comparables. Right. That's where the market tells you. And I see a lot of agents kind of make that mistake. They look at active list prices, and that's always going to skew the perception of what you should be getting for the home. So just make sure, and make sure you're using good comparables. Make sure that you practice your CMA skills and know how to do that, because there's nothing worse than going out with an expectation and it not coming in, and being because of the pricing and not the market, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, otherwise, I think you're right, Gary. The market will dictate what that home is going to be worth at the end of the day. And if you don't get the offers that you want, or you don't get the price you want, then structure yourself, position yourself to be at the level you need to be to get that, but to get that number. But talk to the other agents in the area as well, right? Not just for feedback, but call the other agents with listings and ask them, how are your showings? What's your activity looking like? Right? I'm having a slow week. Are you experiencing the same thing? Because it might be across the board, in which case, be patient, right? If it's just your house, then you have a problem for sure.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. And I was just, while you were saying that, I was just thinking, when the market slowed down on us, a few years ago,
Yeah.
clients only know what they know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where are they getting their information? Especially
Yeah.
our seller clients. And if you have a listing that's not selling and you're not providing them information and giving them feedback, they're going to go out and find their own feedback, and it might not be what envision them to know, right? Not that you want
Yeah.
them to know, but they might not be getting the right information. And it's funny, out of necessity, that's where we started creating our weekly market report
Yeah.
on the property. And if you're not doing that now, do it. So if you have listings, send them at the minimum once a week where you advertise the property, how many people saw it, remind them how many people came through it, how many views did it get on realtor.ca, and all the other means that you have. Where's your are you doing Facebook advertisement? Show all of those numbers. And
Yeah.
then also what comes along with that, Jen, is here are the 3 homes that came up for sale this week. And here are the 1 or 2 or more that sold this week, right? So when
Yeah.
it comes time to around pricing, it's never a surprise.
Right.
Never a
Yeah.
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, your clients shouldn't be surprised when you tell them you need a price reduction. Like if they are, you've missed something, right? Like they should be there with you going, yeah, that's what we're thinking as well, or that makes perfect sense, or that's what we thought you'd say, or whatever that response is. But they should never be surprised by it. If they are, you didn't educate them enough in the last week or two, to get them to where they need to be to make that an easy conversation, right? And the one I'll throw this in there, Gary, because we always talk about knowing what we don't know and taking things for granted. The realtor.ca, knowing how many people looked at your listing, I didn't know until about 3 weeks ago that there was an app for that. So, yeah, Dylan knew, I did not know.
Oh
So I
boy.
now have it on my phone, but you can download an app and it will pull your listings and it will show you how many people looked at the listing, how many leads you got from the listing, and that sort of information, how many people, how what the average time was, how many photos were clicked through, that sort of stuff. So go get that app and have it as a tool. So when you are speaking with your clients, you can give them that information as well, because it's very helpful to say, hey, you got 1,000 people look at your listing and we had one showing,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This sounds like a great topic for another time when, if we start to analyze, we're getting all these views and nobody's showing up, or people
Mhm.
showing up and no offer. What does that mean? So
Yeah.
we'll write that down for the people
Yeah.
watching and
Yeah.
others.
That's
We'll circle back to that because there's a lot of research done, and Jen and I are happy to share what that research is and how that affects your pricing and everything else like
mhm.
that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it goes hand in hand with the week that we do the lawyer session. We'll do this one at the same time. We'll just start building our weeks on our calls from now on.
That's right. Our next show will be brought to you and built by this
Yeah,
week's show.
this week's show.
Nice. Okay,
Oh, love
moving
it.
on.
Yeah.
Multiple offers by the buyer. So let's jump into that.
Mhm.
Okay, so you set this up again, and then I'll come back with my response that made you laugh.
Okay. So, in this scenario, I actually, it wasn't anyone that we know of, but I did see a post on one of the real estate forums where an agent had submitted two offers on properties by the same buyer, and both of them got accepted.
Wait. I should have done the opposite.
Yeah. Womp, womp, womp,
Yeah.
womp. Yeah. Yeah. So same buyers, same offer night, two houses, both homes in multiples, both offers accepted.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that was not their intent, Jen?
No, unlike you, Gary, that was not their intent. The intent was very boldly stated, actually, that they were only going to be purchasing one property. So they just wanted to increase their odds. They didn't want to choose between either property. So they put offers on both with the intention to walk away from one fully. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that just irks me on so many levels. But
Yeah.
my response was to Jen earlier. I'm like, well, I've done that before. Now, before you just take that and run with it, hang on a second.
Which is
Hang
what
on a
I did.
second. Yeah. I got to let it hang there just to
Yeah.
bug Jen. She's like, you better not let our broker record find that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
There are times when you want to do that. For instance, if you're an investor and there are multiple investment properties and you do have 100% intent to close on both, that's
Yeah.
about the only time that it perhaps is acceptable. And of course, years ago, I submitted offers within 24 hours of each other on two different properties, but it was definitely two different properties that we wanted and we acquired, we closed on. We did what we said we're going to do. So if
Yeah.
that's your
You
intent,
bought both properties.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
too.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That is perfectly, go right ahead. In fact, I would love to have a client that wants to
Right?
buy two properties on the same day and is intentionally closing on them as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. Did I ever tell
Yeah.
you? Okay, segue into the one conversation we will have in the future. What we bought our first investment properties. Did I ever tell you
I
that
don't think
closing
so.
day?
No, I don't think so.
So here's the prelude to this is going to be a great story one day. We will tell it one day. We closed on 3 properties in one day, 2 5-unit buildings and 1 4-unit building, all in the same day, all by the same seller. And of course, we were the same buyer.
Wow.
And I'm going to throw another loop into this. The seller offered us 15% loan to value VTB. So he actually gave us money to go buy his own properties.
So he did a VTV's vendor take
Vendor
back, for
take
those of
back.
you that don't know. Wow. Is this in the
And
90s?
This would have been about
Oh,
11 or 12 years ago now.
okay. Okay.
I can keep throwing funny stats at that, but I'm gonna stop there because that's not where today's conversation is going. But we
Yeah.
will have that conversation one day.
Yeah.
And
I want to know the rest of that story now.
and that dude loved us so much that a year later, this is hilarious. A year later, I wanted to go buy another property, but I didn't want to use any of my own money.
Yeah.
He actually gave us 125% loan to value, which is giving us more money than we need
Yeah.
to go buy another property because it was a flip and we were going to flip it,
I
renovate
was
and
gonna
flip it.
say, so you could he financed your improvements plus your purchase.
Yeah. He also
Wow.
financed his own interest payments too. I'm not silly.
Yeah, 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 of course, of
Another
course. Way
conversation,
better than
please.
a bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Cost a lot, but whatever. Remember, it's not
Yeah.
the cost
No.
of money; it's the access to money. Okay, back to
Yeah,
multiple
exactly.
offers. Back to
Yes.
I've got stories. Don't worry. Um, Back to multiple offers from the buyer's perspective. We as agents need to be coaching
Mm.
our buyers that this is not an acceptable practice.
No, I mean, it's unethical, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Mhm.
unethical, and you're putting so many different lives at risk. Like
Yeah.
financial, from the financial piece of it, and of course, the mental health around all of it as well. Um,
Right.
and in fact, if you're with our brokers, Keller Williams Realty Centers, in our Schedule B, we've actually got clauses written around that, right?
Yeah.
To
Yeah, we
prevent
do.
that. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, to say that you don't have any offers currently on any other properties. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's important. And this is one of the reasons that clause exists in our Schedule B, right? Because there were instances of this happening. And a lot of the time agents ask this question, especially as newer agents who don't know what we can and can't do. They're still learning the protocols of the industry, as a very much like, well, we don't want to make a decision, so can we just offer them both? We're probably going to lose on one, if not both anyway, right? And the reality of that is no, for this exact reason. When you enter into a contract, if that contract gets accepted, your obligation there, or your intent, is to close that transaction, right? So the idea that you're going into it with the intent of backing out puts you in breach of that contract right away. It's a very, very questionable position to put yourself in as an agent, and to put your buyers in. And if that other agent knew and was able to prove it somehow or some way, you could be in a lot of trouble. So on top of that, it's the ethics of it. It's the respect for other people, right? All those other buyers on that property, that second property that you're not actually intending to buy, they all just went through all of that stress, all that pressure, all that emotion, and you manipulated that, right? And then on top of that, the sellers who thought they sold their house and were happy and excited are going to get that call the next day to say the deposit check didn't show up, or the buyers got cold feet, or whatever excuse gets used to back out of that deal. And that's not fair to that seller either, or that listing agent who now has to potentially get that property back on the market. Like, there's a lot of moving parts there that you're really manipulating and really taking advantage of when you do something like that, on top of the lack of integrity of that move to begin with, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And in my mind, I'm thinking, and I'm sure if you're watching or listening to this, how can we mitigate that? Is if we're on the seller side, how can we mitigate that? Yeah, we have
Yeah.
Keller Williams Realty Centers has the clause to help mitigate that. Outside of that, though, and I believe it was Paul Ireland, one of our top producing agents. Uh,
Yeah.
he drafts a very specific email with offer instructions to go out to, if you're going to submit an offer, right? If you show them the property, you're getting those offer instructions. And
Right.
I believe in that email. And if I'm pretty sure it's there. If it's not there, or use this as advice, as advice. Ask for a screenshot, a photocopy of that bank draft or what have you,
Mhm.
because if that's going to help you get the offer submit or accepted, then that you got a huge leg up on the next person that just says, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'll just do a bank transfer or something like that." Go the
Yeah.
extra mile, because that's, as agents, we want to stand out from the crowd, from the buying side. Go that extra mile, right?
100%. Yeah. Yeah, we do that actually. Funnily enough, the Silvernagle team does that too. We request a photo or proof of deposit upon submission of your offer. And the offers that have it, they're always front runners,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Always. So it does just solidify your seriousness as a buyer. And if I have to decide between two offers and one has a deposit and the other doesn't, that's a real easy decision, right?
Yeah.
Even if there's a slight money discrepancy, a couple of $1,000 is not worth a deal falling apart. Not
Yeah.
not even a little bit. So yeah, I think that's great advice, Gary, to include that as a buyer agent, and just know that, you just can't do that, right? Just don't put yourself or your clients or any other agent in that position. It's just, you know, it's crappy. Just don't do
It's
it.
crappy.
Yeah,
You heard it
it
here
is.
first, folks.
Yeah.
You heard it here
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find something funny to do on the screen, like a big line or a big no, but I can't. I was looking though. I was looking. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, well, let's kind of wrap this up. Again, at our brokers, we're doing kind of something fun. We're going to walk to Tobermory this year.
I
Or if
love
you're in
it.
Tobermory, you're going to walk down to Aurora by August 31st, our summer wellness program. Take part of that. You can sign up at the URL that you see on screen, mykwrc.ca/SW, and track your progress and get out and move this summer. We've been kind of locked in the home, so this is a great time to get out and move. And then, of course, tomorrow, Real Estate Hacks with Vincent Drew and Dorota, the lawyer that's local to Aurora area, talking all about closing days. So that is a great opportunity. Jen, I don't know if I want this session or this show to leave, because you're in the new studio. I love it. It sounds so good, and it's only going to get better.
I know. It's gonna, once we get the hang of it too, and we can work the green screen behind us and do all sorts of fun stuff and change the colors. Like, yeah, it's gonna get better and better for sure.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So yeah, as we go into the summer months, there might be a few less shows, but the content is
Mhm.
still going to be amazing, as it always is. And we're very thankful to have this opportunity to share with you guys. So for Jen Silbernagel, I'm Gary McGowan, and yes, you can catch us on all your favorite podcast players of choice. But we'll see everybody on the next show. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.